It is day 4 of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Whatever you want to call it, we are back. It is World Cup almost live, day 4 in a row. We have been live every day. Probably not going to be live tomorrow because it is Thanksgiving here in the United States of America. And we are going to celebrate with our family and friends. So hope you appreciate what we've been up to so far these 4 days, giving you everything we've got. But we're going to take the day off tomorrow and we will be back on Black Friday with the U.S. and England. And for those of you that have watched and listened, we appreciate you. Follow us on Instagram at Sportscasting Official, or on YouTube where you can watch this playback. The handle is at Sportscasting. Lots of great comments. Keep them coming in. Drop them in. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we're doing wrong, if there is anything at all. But the one thing I want to flush out right now before we start, boys, is that getting a lot of people saying, well, England beat a bad team, 6-2. And today we got to see Spain just score a touchdown and an extra point over Costa Rica. Here's my rebuttal to that. What if they only won 2-0, 1-0, 3-0, 4-0? Then you might tell me, well, they only beat Costa Rica 2-0. You beat what's in front of you, and you beat them handedly, which is exactly what these teams have done. What more could you possibly want? You have to play who's in front of you, and they dismantle these teams. So no, it is not, it is not a big test, but they put it to them. So I think that should be taken just as strongly as if it's a 1-1, and we said, well, the U.S. and Wales, it was a tough matchup, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? There was a lot of games that have just been roughshod from the opening whistle. Even France, they gave up that opening goal, but 4-1. They dismantled an Australia team. So those are the teams that you've got to watch. Those are the teams that are really on the front foot and have come into this break really, really strong. And it just so happens to be right now, before we see what Belgium can do and before we see what Brazil can do, that the 3 best teams in the tournament look like England, look like not Germany. Sorry, Joe. I know you have them in our pool. Look like it is going to be Spain, and very much looks like
France.
So you got the 3 right there. Again, it can change. There's still teams that to play, but I'll get off my soapbox now. But I just wanted to address that because oftentimes it's, well, what have you done for me now? Well, I just beat a team 7-0. That's pretty darn good. I don't care who you're playing. You beat anybody 7-0. It's pretty good. So that's that. Let's start with maybe the upset. You can't go over Argentina. The second biggest upset thus far. And that was Germany. Even though Tim let us know that this was going to be a wide open game, and it really was. It was 2-1. There was a VAR callback. It was an interesting game nonetheless. Tim, take us through what you liked, what you did not like, and what you saw on the day.
Yeah, first of all, just to hit on your first point, I get what you're saying. It's only one game. The people are saying it's only one game. But the World Cup is a study in small sample size theater. It's 7 games at most to win the trophy. So when you go nuts on one game, it's not an overreaction like it would be in Premier League, like it would be in Champions League, where you play tons of games over a long period of time. This is 7 games. So what you see on the day is what is happening and what is going on moving forward. So I'm okay with it. But I'm also okay Americans hating on England right now because what's going on Black Friday. So that's all good. As far as Germany and Japan goes, like I said, all the stat heads, this had over, I think, 5.25 expected goals for this game. So they didn't quite make that, but it was 3 goals. It was wide open. It was back and forth. You saw a problem with a lot of teams are having, not all teams, when you don't have a striker. They don't, Kai Havertz is not the greatest striker. Timo Werner is out. And so that's what you got. You got the penalty from my man Ilkay Gundogan, and that's about it. And then, I think the big story of the game was really Ganda for Japan and Manuel Neuer for Germany. The second goal there that went over his shoulder, it was an incredible effort, all around by Asano there. But, Neuer kind of moved his head out of the way. And look, he's in his mid-30s. He's making some long-term business decisions maybe now. You wonder if 2010 Manuel Neuer, sticks his face in there and saves that. And on the other side, Gando, gave up he tackled, I forget which Germany attacker it was that he tackled to give up the penalty. But he made up in the 70-something minute. He made 4 saves in a row on huge German chances. The 4th one was kind of probably going to go out of bounds anyways. But it was just, he stood on his head. That's all you can say about that performance. So look, at Japan is going to be dangerous moving forward. They can score timely goals. They have a really solid keeper. The one mistake that he made was, you almost have to do that. You were going to be one-on-one with the guy anyways. So, tackling him is 6 of one, half dozen of another. But I think it said more about Japan than it did Germany. I don't love their scoring options, But overall, I'm not super worried about them for the rest of the group stage, at least.
Yeah, it's hard to criticize Manuel Neuer. He's one of the best that's ever done it, but I'm going to criticize him because you cannot sit on your back foot. I know he was probably hoping that his center back was going to be able to stay with Asano as he was coming towards him. But yeah, like you said, 2010, 2014, Neuer attacks the ball, and
Absolutely.
Again,
he maybe gets a penalty for tackling the guy back then. He was that aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. You try to make the play on the ball. You try to avoid, as much contact as you possibly can. But yeah, that is such a difficult play, and Neuer was waiting back, and he got bitten. And again, give kudos where it's due. Asano had a great shot. I don't know if it was 100% great shot, maybe a little bit of luck that was involved there, but either way, it was good. It did the job. I'm really confused with some of the moves that Hansi Flick pulled off. Again, we talked such a big game about him, thinking that he was going to be able to, be the tactician that he proved he was with Bayern. He pulled off Jamal Musiala, who, again, is the youngest German to appear in a World Cup since 1958. 19 years, 270 days. A guy by the name of Karl-Heinz Schnellinger was the former youngest guy, but Musiala was one of the few guys on the day to really press the entire time. You mentioned Gundogan was good. You mentioned Serge Gnabry wasn't bad, and Hoffman. A lot of just shots. A lot of shots all over the pitch. Some hit the woodwork, some went way over the woodwork, but it was a very inconsistent showing. Rom was fantastic up and down the left-hand side. He was really, really good. A lot of pressure he put on. I thought he was probably, outside of Musiala, was the best player. But again, how much, Joe, does that VAR call come back on the Gnabry shot that goes off the flex, and then, a Chelsea player lines up the ball on his foot, and Havertz puts it in the back of the net? Now, good teams have to overcome that, even though, it was pretty clear and obvious. But it seemed like after that, they had no real concrete interest in going ahead and pushing ahead and trying to get within the 18. It was all those long shots. So did that take them out of their game?
I think if we're talking about small sample sizes, like Tim brought up off the jump, I think that's something you have to look at, especially with someone like Kai Havertz, who it seems like every time he gets a little bit of momentum going, you're like, this is when we're going to get that Kai Havertz that everybody thought was going to blow up out of Leverkusen. He takes that step back also. And I think that when you get a goal like that, you're so close. You're like, I've got the monkey off my back in the World Cup, and it gets pulled back. That's just a real punch to the gut. And when you're a player who's already probably a bit low on confidence at this point of pressing a little bit, knowing that you need to do something, then yeah, that as just a human being can't not sort of take its toll. And then in regards to the striker position, I know we talked about it a little bit of who will be that striker without Timo Werner. I think something that would be interesting, and we got a little bit of it at the end, is Nicholas Füllkrug I think he's at Bremen right now, if that's correct. Hopefully I'm not butchering that one. But when he's up at the top there, he's playing in a two-man strike force, really excels with having that guy to play off of. And if we know anything about Thomas Mueller, we know he knows how to exploit that space. He knows how to pop up in the right spots. So I almost wonder if when we go into game 2, we'll see that shift in the formation and not play an outright two-striker formation, but have a little bit more of that two-man game up top. And also, I would like to get it on the record that Takuba Asano, game-winning goal scorer for Japan, was briefly on the books at Arsenal. So Arsene Wenger does it again.
Of course, everybody was on the books at Arsenal. Harry Kane was once on the books at Arsenal as a little 9-year-old portly fellow. But overall, not a great showing for Germany. Very reminiscent of the previous World Cup that they did not make it out of the first 3. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. It would appear now that if Japan get a win in their next 2 matches, are going to go through. And I, again, a good team, but in that group that they're in, I don't think anybody would have probably predicted that prior to this. But Germany's just one of those funny teams. You never really quite know what they're going to do on the day. They're either really good or they're just kind of blasé. And unfortunately for them, that's very much what they were. There was another interesting kind of blasé game of the day, and it was Croatia and it was Morocco. 2 teams that are just kind of waiting in the water, waiting for something to happen. It really took till about the 64th minute for Achraf Hakimi for PSG. The man hit an absolute missile with his right foot off a set piece. The USA should take some notes on what set pieces look like, because that was fantastic, way outside the box. We're talking like 30 yards outside the box. Somehow the goalie from Croatia, Kikovic, parried it away. I don't know how, because it was knuckling. It was fantastic. Not a whole lot going on otherwise. We saw another game of really big misses between Hakim Ziyech of Chelsea for Morocco and Ivan Perisic of many different teams, but Tottenham most recently. And unfortunately for not only Bayern Munich, but Mazraoui for Morocco was forced off in the second half, and it did not look good. Lower leg injury, so that is going to be curious heading forward. Again, too early to tell. These two teams kind of just waited for something to happen. A lot of curious moves on the Croatian side as far as what they're doing. Modric did not look great. Rakitic, the same there. They didn't even bring Rebic. Who actually is usually really good in these tournaments and steps up in a big way. He's home in Milan waiting for the international break to end. So
the center back, whose name I am sure I'm going to butcher, Garvidal, however you actually say it. I've honestly heard it said out loud about 5 times in my life. But I think he really was the one interesting thing for me to watch out of Croatia. He's the sort of guy that he's only 20 years old. He's been playing for RB Leipzig. He's in the national setup. And it's sort of just a consensus that this guy is good. He's been linked to moves to, I believe, Mike Spurs had an eye on him last window, I believe it was. There's been rumors of him to Chelsea when they were looking at a center back, those sorts of things. And this was one of the few times I've actually been able to sort of get a good look at him in isolation, since, like we were saying, there wasn't really much else to focus on in the game. And no, I think he really impressed. I know Tifo, some of the Tifo guys, I think it was JJ Bull, had a little Twitter thread about him, sort of all the ways that he moves with and without the ball, the way he occupies space, all that good defensive stuff. But as someone who admittedly doesn't get to watch the Bundesliga that much, I was really impressed by him, and you can see why he's on the radar of these global clubs.
Yeah, and Vardy all aside, I mean, that's kind of a great point and a good segue into the Spain match, is that this kind of golden generation of Croatians who were fantastic last World Cup and made it all the way to the finals, there's not a secondary generation coming up behind them. I mean, I'm looking at the team roster right now. They don't have a single forward under the age of 28. And in the midfield, they have Sukic from RB Salzburg, who's 20, and then, some 24 and 25 guys. But again, then everyone else is like over 30. Same with the defense. They played Dejan Lovren, who Premier League fans are familiar with, and there's just not that second backing. So when you get to this golden generation that is on its way out, and we'll see this in a few minutes at Belgium, like they have some young guys coming through the pipeline who need to step up in this World Cup to help De Bruyne, to help Hazard, to help Lukaku when he comes back. And so if they can get that, and then Spain today, that they're all about. Their youth movement seems to have started, 4 years before we thought it would. So that's the takeaway from Croatia, is that they are on the other side of the hill officially, I think. And this game showed it. They are, to me, they're not a top 16 team in this tournament. And I didn't really think so going in, but I think this really proved it.
Yeah, there's a lot of those teams, and I think Germany is just as big out one. I mean, you take off a Musiala and we bring on guys like Götze, and Mueller's still playing; he's playing well. But who is the secondary? Sula's still on the club. Okay, you left Mats Hummels home, and he actually has been playing really well.
He has been playing good
for Dortmund. And one of the reasons that I read that he was being left home is because he has too big of a voice in the locker room. Wow. I mean, you're going to leave one of your best players at home. I guarantee if Paul Pogba was healthy, he'd probably be on the team. And we know how much he likes to talk, obviously.
He's a huge pain. Yeah.
Right. But again, these are the guys that step up in the biggest games. And those are the guys that have made a living and a career of playing every 4 years, basically. They somehow get another contract. So that next group for Germany, where we got the Musialas that are 19, it's a little scary after that. It's like, who's next? 28? Marco Reus, are we still going to wait for? Like, where is the next group for Germany? They could very well be in that same group as a Croatia, as a Mexico. There are a lot of those maybe over the hill, or one tournament too many. And that's why I give up, like you said, you give a lot of credit to Spain. Even as bad as they've been in not making the World Cup, Italy has gotten a lot younger. Their problem is like a lot of countries, they have no number 9, but they've got guys like Sandro Tonali, and there are players of that ilk, Federico Chiesa, that are going to be healthy and are young and exciting players. So there are a lot of countries that are trying to usher it in, and the United States is the maybe too much of an example, where they're the youngest team of the tournament. And I said to somebody the other day, I wish we had a 28-year-old that was just like really good, but like maybe not great, but we could plug him in there. John Brooks, I think I mentioned that last time, but him and Greg Berhalter don't get along, so that's again Matt Hummels' situation. But yeah, this 7-0 Spain game, it was the most goals Spain has ever scored in a World Cup. And believe it or not, Costa Rica, who was a CONCACAF team who got in with Canada and the U.S., they were the first team since 1990, the 1990 World Cup, to not have a shot on net. And they were the previous team against Brazil. Keylor Navas, he's basically been put into retirement by what Spain had done today. He's one of the greatest goalies on this side of the world, I'll say, ever. He's fantastic. He won countless trophies at Real Madrid. Not the same goalie he was, obviously, PSG. Things haven't gone exactly as well now that Donnarumma has taken over the job. But you could just tell from that first touch on Dani Olmo's spinning goal in the 10th minute that this was going to be a long day for Costa Rica. And that goal was his 100th goal for Spain in World Cup history. So a big day. This team is just so young. I know the other day I mentioned Gavi and Pedri, and they all came to play. I mean, they look so good. And a guy like Gavi, who really hasn't played a ton at Barcelona, is really going on potential. And we know Xavi loves him. The kid's 18 years, 110 days. He's the youngest scorer in a World Cup since Pele in 1958. Crazy. Pele was 17 years. 249 days. And Gavi, who those that don't know him, he won the Young Boy Player of the Year, which goes out at the same time as the Ballon d'Or and whatnot. So, Tim, my thing to you is this is another team, and you just mentioned it previously, that doesn't necessarily have a striker. So today it was actually Marco Asensio, who never plays striker for Real Madrid. His contract's going to be running up this summer. Didn't have a great game. Scored a goal, obviously. Didn't need him to have a great game. They kind of can plug and play. Morata came in the end. He even scored a goal to get on the sheet in extra time. Soler looked really good. He plays for PSG now, coming over from Valencia. Obviously, your boy, and that, well, he was your boy for like a year and a half, I guess, is what we want to talk about. So I'll let you talk about it. He looked great. One, obviously a penalty kick, Torres, and then another goal as well. So tell us a little bit about how important he is to this team, and maybe why. I know this isn't an English show, but why didn't it work with Pep? Why didn't it work in Manchester City, and why has it been working with Barcelona?
Yeah, so a lot of stuff there, and just to circle all the way back to the beginning of the show here, the young, you look at the three teams we said were really bossing this tournament, which is Spain, which is England, which is France. And you look at the front lines and that mix of age and youngsters with, Kane and Sterling and Bellingham and Saka. And then, Dembele with Giroud and Mbappe, and now Spain. That's what you need to really kind of dominate in this tournament, I feel like. And playing bad opponents in the first round also helps. But yeah, Fernan Torres is a guy who really has some skills. And the thing with Pep in Manchester City is that it's just been so hard on the wing. He really, for some reason, he really loves Riyad Mahrez, and I don't understand why. I think Mahrez is hugely overrated, and he just is a unconscionable shooter. I call him Swaggy Ree, like Swaggy P, Nick Young in the NBA, because he just shoots with no conscience and often misses. And so that wing mix, I mean, you see Sterling had to go, and so that's just what it was with Fernan Torres, is that there just wasn't the minutes. Same with Leroy Sané, who didn't get in for Germany now, but he was another player that I loved that just wasn't getting the playing time he wanted and probably deserved. But you see this, and yeah, I mean, listen, Pedri, Gavi especially, I didn't know already. Ansu Fati didn't even play in this match, and he's another young budding superstar. So Spain has a lot going for it, and they still have Busquets and some older guys who can help guide the team through the tough spells here, because there will be some tough spells. But yeah, I mean, Spain again, and I watch these teams. I watch Japan upset Germany, why couldn't the US do that? I watch Spain play without a striker, and I'm like, why can't US do that? I mean, Fernan Torres is technically a wing, but I mean, he plays like Timothy Weah plays and plays in the middle so much, and that's how he scored those goals. And when you have that rotation up front and they don't know where the scoring shot is coming from, it makes it that much harder to defend for the center backs, for the wing back, for the full backs, for the goalie. So I wish that Greg Berhalter would take a little page from what Spain did here, because it was incredible. And the big learning from this is that Fernan Torres is dating, married, engaged to the coach's daughter here. So this was a lot of conversation at the end of the blowout was about that. So hopefully it works out better than Sergio Aguero and Diego Maradona's daughter that did not go well when he coached him in the 2010 World Cup, I believe.
Hey, take one for the team if you got to marry the coach's daughter to stay on the national.
There you go.
So, Joe, tell me why Nico Williams is not only amazing at the age of 20, why he completely changes Spain and makes them more dynamic. Because this is a very technical squad. This is a very good squad. Rodri, actually another Man City guy. It seems everybody has played there at one point or another. Rodri came out and said to the press they are the most technically gifted side in all of the tournament. After today, pretty hard to argue with. Maybe a couple days ago, we might say, that's not true. But they looked really good. But Nico Williams is a huge reason why. 20-year-old plays at Athletic Bilbao. Tell me why he's probably linked to Arsenal, because you're probably going to tell me he's linked to Arsenal.
I mean, I don't think we have that going just yet, but I think the word you used, dynamism, dynamic, whichever way we want to put it, is perfect, because I think when I was watching the game, and I think the broadcasters were talking about it at some point, the way Spain was running their player rotation had those beautiful passing triangles going that I could have been watching Spain from 10 years ago, and like we've established, I like Arsenal, Tim likes Manchester City, and we know all too well when you have that sort of team that likes to control the ball, that likes to pass and move, things can get a little static. You can fall into that trap of just working around. Okay, there's nothing on the left side. Let's recycle it. Let's try the right side. Okay, nothing's there. Let's move it back over. Let's poke here. Let's prod there. And if you're against the team,
shoot the ball. That's what I yell at the City.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
You need someone like the Thomas Partey or the Gundogan or whoever to either take that long shot or break the lines, whichever it is. Right. And when we talk about Williams, you have a guy who's willing to get on the ball, run at players, whip that cross in, and just make something happen, which when you're a really controlled, ball-dominant team, having that different club in your bag can really sort of put the defense on the back foot, can make them have to respect that run, respect that dynamism, to use the word again, and then everybody's half a step back. Your guys who get on the ball have that much more room. They can pick the pass. They have the extra second to get their head up. And to sort of mix metaphors and use a little bit of an American football thing, you need to have the thunder and you need to have the lightning. You can't go pure power or pure skill all the time. You need to have that little bit of blend. And I think for a teenager, he really does give Spain that extra dynamic.
So good. Obviously when you got him on one end and then you can bring a guy like Jordi Alba who looks really, really good, who's been to 1,000 tournaments, has won everything under the sun, and all of a sudden he looks rejuvenated. It's just that nice blend. And not a lot of countries have it. Not many countries are able to usher in a new era and able to continue to use the old era. One seems to always get pushed out, or one gets kept around way too long, which we've seen with a lot of countries. So there's just a lot of good football going on, and I know that I've got Spain in our pool, so I am feeling really good about my pick, because I think I was chastised a little bit for my Spain pick, so I just want to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, and so that is true. First of all, Joe's Canada's not going to score a goal thing might just go away right here, because Belgium just got called for a penalty for a handball.
Well,
so they're about to do that.
That's what he does best. So, yep.
Just to update the standings here, Mike, you are done. All 5 of your team has played. You have 10 points. I have only 2 of my teams have played. I have 1 point, but I do have a possibility of 10 points with Belgium, Uruguay, and Portugal still to go. Okay. Joe, you have 4 points with 3 to play, so you have a possibility of 7 points with Brazil, Poland, Germany, Netherlands, and Serbia. So that's where we stand in our pool after as the first round creeps towards the end here.
Yeah, we are coming to the end of day 4 of the World Cup. It's been really, really good. Not every game has been a barn burner, but there have been some really good games. There has been some snoozers as well, but that's come to be expected. A couple upsets, but it's still too early to write off teams like
Wait till it's 64 next year, and then see how many snoozers there are.
And that's the thing, is I was even thinking that, with watching the Costa Ricas, and I'm like, really, do we need another team from CONCACAF in? Because, okay, and here's the kick, and Joe, he missed the
save, but
Canada
not scoring, still intact.
Yeah, I told you it's the trendy bet.
Well, I will say that Alphonso Davies kicked that ball like he used the wrong foot, because he was so unsure of himself, and he just I don't know if he tried for placement, but he needed to go with power. It was awful, truly an awful opportunity. Again, this will probably come back to bite Canada. I will not be surprised if Belgium wins this game handedly. Now, the baby giraffe Thibaut Courtois, just fantastic. He just dove to his right, and it was just a piece. I mean, he basically hit him in the stomach. So, I mean, Canada, we're pulling for you here in North America, but you are doing yourselves no justice whatsoever with opportunities like that. And your best player, obviously, is Alphonso Davies. Yikes, Joe! A little bit of Poland reminiscent. If I can say that without getting yelled at.
No, I've got a thing for missed penalty kicks.
Yeah, well, they will come back to haunt you. But I mean, that's basically all we got for you guys today. This interesting game of Belgium and Canada is going to keep going on. We're only in the 11th minute here. The guys are looking to get on the road. It is the Thanksgiving weekend, so we here in the States wish you a happy and healthy everything you could have. Be thankful for what you do have. If you don't have, we hope that you are able to get it and continue to work hard for it in the new year. We are blessed to be talking about soccer here on this platform or sportscasting.com. So we appreciate each and every one of you that go on and read the articles, that go on to our YouTube channel, watch those YouTube channels, that interact with us, because we wouldn't be able to do it without you. Otherwise, we'd be talking to ourselves, which is a little weird. Well, I do it a lot. So if you watch Baseball 360. Other than that, I'm Mike Calandrillo. In the middle is Tim Crean. And over on my right, your left, is Joe Kozlowski. For the end of day 4 of the World Cup, we appreciate you. Day 5, we will not be here, so be sure you watch it. There may be a couple little surprises that'll pop up. But day 6, Black Friday here in the United States of America. Not only is it the biggest shopping day of the year, it is the U.S. men's national team. It is the English national team. It is Harry Kane with his bum ankle. Maybe. I don't want that when the English Premier League comes back, but maybe for Friday, I'm okay with it. So let's have a good game. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe over the break, and we will catch you on Friday. Until then, we'll see you later.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep.